Hello and welcome back to the Career Cravings podcast. Today, I am so excited about the episode that we are bringing you. It is a backstage pass to what it is actually like to work with me as your coach. So I am leaking one of my paid coaching calls from inside one of my programs. And this is a real coaching session where it is going to help you actually understand how to apply all of the interview tips that you've heard on the podcast to date. We are going to be breaking down how to answer tough interview questions. I'm going to be giving exact scripts to actually use in answering those tough questions, as well as my method in answering behavioral interview questions, how to tell better stories, and honestly, just how to stop sounding robotic or awkward in interviews. And this is the biggest shift from hearing, we might call you back, or, if you hear from us, you'll hear from us by Friday, otherwise not. And start hearing more of like, we'd love to see you again tomorrow, and start actually getting those offers. This is what people struggle with the most. It's not that they're actually not qualified, it's that they don't know how to communicate their value in the interview. So if you are in the thick of your job search, what I need you to do is bring out your notepad, your pen, your phone, wherever you keep your notes, because I am going to be giving you a script, a play-by-play of how to exactly answer the interview questions in the Career Cravings way. There is so much gold in this conversation, and I want to share it with you because these are the exact kind of questions that you will be asked in your interviews. So let's dive in. Hey, it's Irina Pozan, and welcome back to the Career Cravings podcast. This podcast has a simple mission. It's to help ambitious professionals like you build the career and life that you've been craving. Over the past 15 years, I've worked as an HR leader, designed hiring systems, led recruitment teams, and I've sat on the other side of the hiring table. I've seen what works in today's job market, what doesn't, and what separates those good candidates from the ones that actually land their dream roles. Now I'm bringing everything I've learned straight to you. Each episode is packed with actionable insights and tools to help you land your dream role sooner. Now let's dive in. Claire, your first call and you're already hopping in. I love that.
So one of the things that I would want to come up is some cost-saving initiatives that are examples. One is our mat leave top-up. It's just wide open. It said top-up for a certain duration.
Okay.
But Canada, I don't know where everyone else is, have extended rental benefits. It's the same amount, but spread over a longer period of time. So they would get less benefits, and we would have to cover the difference. I proposed an update, which did move forward to say reflective of the standard rental benefit amount. So that the company isn't covering that difference if an employee chooses the extended option. Then another one is our pension plan text, which I had updated to say previously, if someone was on like a sick leave indefinitely until age 65, we continued employer contributions. So I had that capped at 2 years. So just a couple of things to save the organization some money.
Amazing. Okay, so let's talk about that. And your target role is like of total rewards, right?
Yeah, like the title right now is director, and I think director at another organization might still be a step up just because where I am, it's like director, principal, like so much that I think another organization it might actually be a higher
so
level.
don't limit yourself because you have a ton of benefit experience. And it's just trying to understand like the competencies they'd be looking for. You would look at being in charge of all of total rewards, not all of HR, right?
Yeah, comp benefits, pension, and wellness are they have right now. Yeah.
Amazing. So with both of these stories, you definitely want it to come up because these are large initiatives, big projects that you've implemented. They saved the company, it sounds like, a lot of money. This might come up in a variety of ways. They might tell you about your pension experience. Can you tell me a little bit about a time or your benefit experience, or tell me about a time you did save the organization money, or tell me about a time, because at your level, they're going to be looking for strategy and leadership. So it might even come through that way. So there's so many ways that you can use this story. Now let's focus on building one of these out, but in your confidence statement, we're going to include both. So I know you started mentioning with cost savings. So let's pretend they just ask you about that. They're like, hey, can you tell me about a time where you saved the company money? I know, especially right now with how many reductions are happening across the board in so many industries, people that can lead big projects and save the company money are very much, I pay for their salaries, right? So very desired. In terms of, do you have a framework for this response that you want to refine together? Or are you out loud? Or do you
I
want
just jotted it down, so I
I know
haven't
you're
thought
just
it
like
through.
roughing it. Okay, no pressure. So, in terms of confidence statement, we all always want to start with confidence statements. Just to bring it back higher level, this is an executive communication tool, often lands really well and it gives more context. So, in your case, Claire, because you have two stories, we'll pick one to focus on because that's always the most effective way to tell one story. Confidence statement, this is where you give all of your kind of context about that thing they're asking about. So you could say something like, last decade, I've had opportunities to work on projects relating to pension and maternity leave. And you can like the categories there and say, which all have the organization hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever that number is for you once you reflect. So starting out with that, so they know it's like, this isn't just this one thing. It's not just the mat leave project. It's not just the pension project. You have all this extensive experience. And when we do this, we're planting the seed for them to ask about the other projects for them to want to learn more, right? Okay, which specific story do you want to more about, the mat leave or the pension?
I think the pension has a bigger impact in terms of
Cool.
how like savings it resulted in. Yeah.
So you've got the confidence statement. Next, we're moving to the context. So this is for any behavioral interview question. It doesn't have to be exactly like Claire's, literally all of you on this call. Next, you want to give some context about like you even worked on that project or you got involved with this situation. So give the context there. Why was it that you looked at the pension plan as a cost savings opportunity or like was wrong with it? What did you notice?
Yeah. So I noticed that when this industry, there's a lot of leaves, sick leaves that transition to LTD, and some remain on LTD till age 65. And the wording in our pension plan text just said employer contributions will continue for protected leave. So in this case, if someone goes on leave when they're 30 and they're unable to return to any occupation, they get employer contributions till age actually till 71, even though their
Wow.
LTD stopped at 65. So it was a huge cost, considering that some organizations don't contribute pension at all when someone's on leave. Still felt that we could maintain some support like that and still be considered as generous when people are on unexpected leaves like that we should cap it because it was a significant
Excessive.
cost over
Yeah,
time.
huge. Okay. So the other thing I think that's important context is like, was cost savings important to you? It's not just like you want to take away all these benefits. It's sure you had a goal in your leadership around cost savings. And that's why you notice, okay, the pension line item could be something that we reduce while still supporting our employees at the same time. Was that the case? Did you have like a reduction number you wanted to get to or?
Yeah, that's kind of broad directive of find savings where you can. It's also about kind of redirection because if we're not spending that money on pension contributions, we can put it into wellness events or benefits plan or the bonus pool. Like it became available to use elsewhere. Yeah.
Was this you coming in and looking at the line items and determining like your strategy for total rewards? Want to shift things around, like you said about redirection. Was that more kind of situation? Was this kind of when you were at the org kind of strategy for over the
Yeah.
next 2 years? Okay,
Yeah.
context, the way we position it matters, right? And often for each one of these points that we're talking about, you only want to give one sentence or maybe two because your whole story is only going to be at like 2 minutes max.
Okay.
All of the context doesn't matter. It's about, that's why I'm asking all these questions, like how to pick out which ones are important. So Claire, for you, they're looking for you to be very strategic at the level you are at. So I think it's great to position the context like I joined my current organization as director, your title is, of
Total
rewards.
rewards. Yeah.
I took a look at all of, and they're going to want you to look at budget too, right? So budget's a big piece. I took a look at the budget as well as all of the line items that had to do with pension and benefits and all those good things. And I noticed a number of opportunities for cost savings where we could redirect those funds into initiatives that would, whatever your other strategy is, would improve the employee experience or improve retention or whatever your strategy was. So amazing. That's the context. One more thing on context. Of course, you want to tell them One of the first things I noticed was the pension line item was, or pension policy in general, was much more generous than the market, what's out there in this industry and typical in the market, right? So then this like the data and analytics aspect too. So actually for this story, they could ask you like, hey, Claire, tell me about a time you used data to make a decision. This could be that thing too. Okay, cool. So you have your confidence statement, everyone applies to everyone. So confidence statement, then you're going into the context or the problem or like what worked on this. Next, it's really simple. It's like the 3 things that you did. Even though, Claire, this project might have been like an 8-month long project with a million steps that you had to take, you're going to want to be concise about just the 3 steps that you took. And often we can bunch many steps into a couple. So it's like maybe your first step was, and I'm just going to make these up, but let's say your first step was like kind of assessing all of the benefits and programs and policies that were in place, comparing them to the industry and the, to standards and industry and all that good stuff. Next, I presented this data to the executive leadership team, blah, blah, with a recommendation. Maybe that's what you did. You got approval. And then last, and these steps that I'm mentioning, like then making a recommendation and then actually executing, guess what? They apply to most stories, right? So these are things you can use over and over as the 3 steps. And of course, you would have launched the new policy, right? Because otherwise, this would never be a top story. It'd just be a random side note. And then we're going to talk about the results. So I know you said there were significant results. So with the launch of the new program and policy, what was the result?
Be the cost savings.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I would get the specific number, and it's probably going to be on your new resume too. But like this, in the first year, we saved $500,000 or whatever the case is, while balancing supporting our employees as well.
Okay.
Were there any other benefit that came out of it? Why do you know this was like a great initiative? Able to redirect the funds? Because you mentioned redirection.
Yeah, we were able to kind of use that as argument for enhancing some of our benefits.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, and you don't have to go into all the details. They might ask a follow-up question, which is welcome. Like, oh, what else did you do? And then you can go into that. But any open loops that you open, you want to close them in the results. So if you say, I wanted to redirect, you should close that loop. Or if you say, I wanted to save money, of course, you should talk about that. Or we wanted to enhance engagement, you should definitely address that in the results. Easy peasy. That's it.
Okay.
How does that sound?
Great. I took a lot of notes.
Okay, and this will be recorded and I'll share it immediately after this call. So I would use the exact same framework to then go ahead and build the mat leave top up too. Even sometimes after say you're asked about cost savings, you have 2 great stories. You can either pick one like we just did, right? Or you could even say, so many examples, 2 are top of mind right now. There was the mat leave one, there was the pension one. Which one sounds more relevant for your company right now? Oh, pensions? Okay, I'll tell you more. And that's how you make it a little more conversational. And it's the nail on the head if they're both really strong.
Okay.
Love it. I'm so glad to see you back. Just so you guys know, we know each other. If you sense that. Claire was like in the early cohorts years ago in this program, landed multiple offers. She's a big wig now and is back. So here we are. My husband always uses the term big wig, and I think it's like most ridiculous thing. So
Yeah, I've never been called a big wig, but I'll take it.
I call him that too. I'm like, big wig now when he says something ridiculous, like, I don't know, something he's struggling with. I'm to make this decision now. Good for you. All right. I see one more hand. And anyone, as you're thinking of your top stories, put your hand up. We'll go in those orders. Don't be shy. Don't bite. This is always something that will, of course, improve future interviews. Camille, yes. What is your story? Give me a little context.
Irina, I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you after a long day. So I have completed and it went really well. So I'm missing lots of questions that you explained in the program. And I'm able to answer it all the questions very strategically and recently the 30, 60, 90 days plan. So they were asked
about that.
Yeah.
I say to bring it up proactively in the final interviews, but I love that they asked about it and you were actually ready, because if they asked anyone else, they probably weren't ready for that.
A lot of questions and I'm able to answer all the questions. But end of the day, what they said, they'll be get in touch with you. They asked me to follow with the recruiter that I've initially asked. And lots of questions, and I was very happy that I gave my full performance. This is the first HR role that I'm giving the interviews.
Oh, good. Okay. I made it to final rounds. That's worth celebrating alone, even if you don't know how the ultimate result. You often wait to celebrate when the offer comes in.
Yeah.
Something like this, like one, you went to your first interview, which I'm sure took a lot of guts and you were nervous and you overcame it. And then you got invited back again, which is a testament to the hard work you put in. So
Yeah. One thing, I didn't get nervous. I'm very confident. I don't like that,
I love that. Okay, good.
yeah, they ask like the weakness and how you feel your success. A lot of questions. So you've just covered in your program. That was really easy for me to come up with such ideas.
Good. And this is the beauty of you guys bringing the questions because you're sharing with each other what you will be asked. And like we're actually practicing things you've either just been asked about or will be. So that's the beauty. What can I support you with? How can we make the next steps flow even better?
I want to prepare salary negotiation stuff when it comes to if they're not discussed. Can I take initiative and ask them about this, or should I need to wait for them to come up with that? So I need
Yes. Good. I'm glad you're thinking ahead. You're in the final stage and you're going to hear back about next steps. Now, I have strong opinions on this. One of them, like viral on LinkedIn, and everyone's like, you're a dumbass. And I'm like, you guys don't, you misunderstood. The strong opinion is until you need to make that decision, you don't have to negotiate anything, but it might become very relevant for you very soon, right? So you want to be ready. So I wouldn't say right now email the recruiter anything to do with your salary because they have not asked you and it literally doesn't matter yet until you get an offer and then it becomes extremely important. So if, and we'll assume when the recruiter calls and says like, use, we have this offer for you. This is what it looks like. They're going to break down numbers. They're going to say, it's X amount of money. It has these benefits. It has this vacation. They're going to do it over the phone often before sending you like an actual document. So in that moment, this is where a lot of people make a mistake and they start negotiating on the phone without having like a real strategy, or they say, amazing, I'm going to accept it right now. And like ways aren't the good way to approach the situation. I actually had someone lose an offer before for starting to negotiate right away without showing the gratitude and all that good stuff. So the first step is when you do receive that verbal offer is, of course, even if you're thrown off because the offer is way less than you thought it would be, or a catastrophe in your mind about like the offer is, no matter what, I want you to stay calm in that moment and lead with gratitude because I'm sure no matter what it is, even if it's not the right offer for you, you have gone through this process, you have gotten to know them, you now are building your network. And no matter what, it's always nice to be like, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And, so always lead with that. And then next, what I would say is very simple. It's like, I cannot wait to receive the written offer and take a look and process this information and get back to you by X. And you could say Friday, get back to you by Friday. Give yourself a little bit of time. In that time, then you can reach out to me and we can go through it together. In that time, you're going to think about it strategically because you can't negotiate everything. You can't be like, I want 2 weeks of vacation and I want to work from home and I want my salary to be higher and I want this, right? So you're going to need to be clear on what you actually want to change. And the good news is most organizations have some flexibility in, first offer isn't their best offer, right? Unless they fully say, just so you went to the absolute top of the range, there is absolutely no budget, blah. Then cool, you can look at other perks if they say it's not salary, right? It doesn't always have to be one thing. So the good news is you don't have to have exactly what you want to ask for. Take in what they send. And then think about, okay, if it's base salary that you end up wanting to negotiate, think about why and how much. And you have a couple days, you bought yourself time. Again, like if there's something specific you want to negotiate, just email me and you go from there. And then you come up with a nice email that's so grateful. Thank you so much. There's one, I'm very excited about the opportunity to work with you. There's one aspect I'd like to essentially negotiate. One thing I want to talk about that I saw in the offer, it's the base salary. I was hoping for a salary closer to X, whatever that is. And then often where you end up is like the middle. That's what I see most often. It's like they said 65K, you said 80, you might get 70 or 75.
Yeah.
The good news is the pressure is off. You just have to remember to stay cool in the moment. Say, thank you so much. So excited. Can't wait to see it in writing. Because until you have something in writing, you actually don't even have anything. I've seen offers fall through like that. So you want them to send through that document and then you'll take a look and you'll decide. Okay, so don't do anything in the moment. Does that help?
Yeah, it really helps. Thank you so much. So they said like I'm waiting till next week. I think I'll get the feedback from them on the decision by next week. And hopefully I'll follow the instruction that you said. Yeah.
Well, I hope it ends up the way that you would like it to. But I
Yeah.
also know everything happens for a reason. So whichever way it goes, you're obviously getting more and more confident interviewing, which means
Yeah.
this won't be the only one.
No, I would definitely say that is my first achievement, the confidence that I built. So
Oh, I love that.
everything will come
Celebrate
along.
that. Like the huge win too. Your confidence is something that stays with you for the rest of your career,
Yeah,
not
very
just
true.
for this week, right? So I love that.
Of course.
Okay.
Even
Well,
when,
good.
my God, I did my it very well, and they were also impressed me. They don't know like what kind of questions they might ask because I've covered everything and tell me about yourself, and then
Exactly. It answers like different questions in one. That's why we do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think you just built the case. If anyone else was
Yeah.
unsure, definitely follow exactly what
Yeah.
we're talking about today in terms of the structure and works. Love it. Okay. You're so welcome. And please keep us posted.
Hi, I just wanted to mention that I'm in a similar position as Tamil. I
Yay,
did a
amazing.
final round of an interview at a non-for-profit. Well, I've been kind of for about 2 months. They're
That's a long time.
yeah, I have a consultant doing their recruitment for them. So I guess like first initial conversation, I didn't think I was going to get a call back. And then she emailed me for a first interview. After the first interview, I didn't think I was going to get through the second phase of interviews, but I did get through the second phase of interviews. So it's like a gap, but it's fine. Like I just wanted to also celebrate Tamil and me, like went into the interview. I was on site, the last one. I was more confident than
Yes.
I've been in my life interviewing for in person. And I felt the nervousness of the panel for some reason, because I think it's their first time actually interviewing for a role that they're so really, I mean, HR role, so they'll be working with a person like very closely, and that's why they were doing the on-site interview. But I felt their nerves more than I had mine. So it was very
Power dynamic.
Yeah,
You
I was
want to
like,
come in like the confident one, right?
exactly. And then I was just like, them, great conversation. I'll hear back by the end of the week. But it was funny because by the time I had to ask them my questions, they were all nervous to see what I was.
Okay, do you my life today? Like the questions I love.
And so that was great. And then digestion before the second round of interviews, I already talked about my 30, 60, 90 to them at that point.
Sealed the deal.
And then at the final interview, I spoke about it again. And then when I sending my thank you note, I attached a little PowerPoint presentation that I created about the 30, 60, 90 of what I would do when I would come in.
Amazing.
Just like how you
Okay.
suggested. So
You sound like you have done everything that you possibly can. So what I will say right now, it's Wednesday. You're going to hear back by Friday, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's what they said. And I actually don't want you to wait. You need to celebrate, okay? Celebrate where you have gotten to this point. You've never been so confident going into a final round. You did above and beyond. You didn't have to do a presentation or a 90-day. Most people don't do anything like that. Just celebrate how far that you have come already in this process, because no matter the outcome, you accomplished that. Okay, what can I support you with at this stage?
that's what I just wanted to mention. Sorry, I had
Okay, I don't have anything. Okay.
I mean, good. So I just wanted to share the excitement and just want to give that encouragement to everybody as well, just to keep going.
Thank you.
There's eventually we'll get there. It's just a long process, or it's just
You
challenging.
waited 2 months talking to these people and they keep moving you forward. And sometimes we think, yeah, not going well. And then they call back like weeks later. And you're
Yeah.
like, 4 weeks. Okay, one tip on that while we're on the topic of in-person interviews, because they do freak a lot of people out, because we all have our notes and we rely on them. And then, of course, we don't bring the notes when we're in person. So a couple things there. First of all, I love that you sent thank you notes and you had an attachment. What really works well in person, that's rare. It's like a random tip, but you could bring blank thank you notes with you. And while you're there, like at conversations, you can write a really personalized note and leave like at front desk or with someone when you're going to get it. And that often really nice, thoughtful touch too. People love that. It's very memorable. No one else will be doing that. And if you already have your 90-day plan, it's so nice to bring it in person, printed with a copy of your resume for everyone in that panel in the room. And I love how it sounds like it was conversational. You were asking them questions back and forth. At the final interview, the biggest difference is like already vetted you through the other stages. They've seen your resume. They know your stories. They know your pitch. Like might be meeting some new people there, but it's really about assessing fit. It's we hire you. It's going to be like to see you on Monday morning. Like we
And
want
we
that
work with you.
experience. Can we work with you? Do we want to? And it's like that like factor, whether we like it or not, is very much a thing. So if you go in, you're sweating, you're nervous, you're not your best self, it will really affect how conversation is going. And if you have to like do a song in your car before you like to hype yourself up before you get in the doors, like something to shift your energy and like get in the energy of your best self. And you know what? No matter how this goes, I'm going to give it my all and the rest is up to them. It's out of my control. That's all I can control. So amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Susan, hello. What can I support you with today?
Hi there. Unfortunately, the opportunity that I was speaking about the last call, just heard back from the external recruiter today that they're not moving forward with me. And so, given that it's an external recruiter, what are your thoughts in terms of reaching out and asking for feedback? Because I'm hoping that because they're external, that they're maybe more likely to provide the feedback and be honest.
Yeah. A couple things there. First, I'm sorry. I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear from them. And, to final rounds, it's 50 often. We don't know, and it's sometimes worse odds than that because there's at least one other candidate typically. And in terms of feedback, to your point, we don't often hear the real story of how it went, but it is nice to know and be able to close the loop. Even it could be validating to hear like they ended up going with an internal candidate and the recruitment company is also not from that and they're feeling the loss with you. So they might share more. Always ask, just don't rely on it to really drive what you do next because it might just be all fluff and you're not really, oh, you were perfect. You have a set of questions that really dig in to find out like it's the perspective of thank you so much for sharing information. Totally get it's part of the process. I would love to improve for my next interview. And I love, it's a very seasoned recruiter, right? It sounds like you've been in recruitment for a long time. I'm just curious, is there any information you can share with me? Any feedback you can share with me can use for next time? And when you position it like that, you're actually building a stronger relationship. So they might be placing a role a month from now somewhere else that might be interesting to you too. So it shows your growth mindset. It shows you're very mature. You can only win. And it's their choice how transparent they are or not. And again, you can't control that either. So definitely ask. And I love your idea about doing it over a phone call.
Yeah, the part of me that wonders whether if it is that they think I'm overqualified and I won't stay.
That's really good information. And it might be it.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm heading into another pre-screen on Friday with a different company. And if they are going, their CEO is doing quick 15-minute calls with whoever they have on their list at this point. That'll be an interesting dynamic. And of course, it's not a full interview. They don't really know what to expect once I get past kind of, they're even going to ask me about yourself.
If you have only 15 minutes with a CEO, like how do you maximize that, right? You think would be a disservice not to go through your pitch because as the point was just made a couple minutes ago, its answers not only really tell me about you, like barely what it talks about. It actually talks about why are you a great fit for the role? What makes you qualified? Why are you excited for this position? It answers like different questions, if not more, in a very concise, like seconds. So it actually is very helpful, I think, as an introduction. So even if not asked, leave this with you to decide in the moment if this, like, given the situation and the 15-minute, that's rare, right? But even if you get the opportunity and the CEO is like, can you tell me about a time where you led a cost saving initiative? What I would actually say, if there's been no introduction, what I would actually say is, oh my goodness, yes, throughout my career, I have had the opportunity to lead many cost savings initiatives. I would love to tell you about one. Would you mind if I just spent like seconds or just 1 minute, a high level overview of experience? Would you mind if we did that? I think it'll be really helpful for the rest of our minutes. And then no one's going to say no to that. And then that way you get to lead the conversation about, are you overqualified for this or not? Because you're positioning yourself in the right way aligned with the role. So if when anyone here is actually not asked as a first question, tell me about you or walk me through your resume or some sort of introduction, it really starts the interview in a very bad way just to dive into some random niche topic without introducing yourself. And I always like to ask, mind if I just 1 minute with an introduction? I think it'll really help us. They say yes. And then you lead with that. And then, of course, answer their actual question. Okay.
Absolutely. And I'm just reviewing my top stories to make sure that I have them top of mind, so that depending on whatever it is that she decides to ask, then those stories ready to kind of.
Amazing. And is this a similar situation? They perceive you as overqualified for this role as well?
Yeah, it's a director position, and it's actually with the public libraries. So
Okay.
it's multi-location you have. So, there's a couple of different things that kind of work well. And this is the opportunity where I actually knew somebody on the board. And I reached out to the person, and they tactfully declined, their position that they wanted to kind of hands off, which I said, you understand, but, I'd love to meet up and get reconnected. We'll
Good.
see where that goes.
Okay. Want to take the opportunity just to polish up your pitch or practice any of your top stories? Would that be helpful right now with where you're at?
Yeah, I haven't really worked on my pitch yet for this one. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so in the company, you've had the multi-location experience, which is a match. Why else would you be really great at this role?
Yeah, the fact that I have doing strategic HR as well as where I do the operational side of things as well, which is something that this position is for. So there is a nice balance between the two that they're looking for. I have in unionized environments, so I have the labor relations and the workforce strategy.
Amazing.
And with the position, I'm looking for kind of strong connection with the operations and supporting at that level. And the libraries have a strong community and purpose. And that's something that really resonates with me, that it isn't just kind of cut and dry, that each of the libraries are able to what is required for the community. And that's something that really strikes a chord with me.
Love that. That was going to be one of my questions for you because anyone interviewing with a purpose driven organization, like we'll see that on their website, or you doing a lot of work for the community, or they're a nonprofit, which means, of course, they're very passionate mission. That should always kind of a part of the pitch that you resonate with that, if as long as that's true. Love that. You sound like a great fit. They're looking for the operational and the strategic balance in their role, unionized environment, and you also know someone on the board. Have you heard good things from that person you can mention?
So have not had the conversation, and I wanted to tread
Okay.
really lightly. The person on the board happens to be a counselor as well. So I think that's why
Okay.
he's being extra careful that there
Okay.
isn't,
Mention it. Sometimes when you are referred in, it's like to be like, I've heard amazing things about your company from Joe. And that often means likely to be even a better fit as a candidate because you know a lot more about the company and so on. But skip it. Everyone knows about the library. So that's a good thing. So take us away. By the way, take notes for everyone else. By the way, what Susan did was I asked her, why would you be a great fit? And these points, everything she mentioned should be at the end of the pitch, right? Because this communicates why they should get excited about you. So often that's a part of the pitch that harder to put together, but you did that flawlessly. So amazing. Okay, so take it away.
Okay. Human resource leader with over 20 years of experience working in complex union and non-union environments where I've led the full scope of human resources, including labor relations, workforce strategy, and organizational effectiveness. Recently, I was the Chief Human Resource Officer at the Halifax Port Authority, where I worked closely with the CEO and the board, people strategy, labor relations, supporting the organization through change. As a big part of my role was balancing the strategic work well as the day-to-day realities of employee and labor relations.
When I saw this role, I was really excited because
when I saw this role, I was really excited because there is a really strong fit with what I have done in the past with the Port Authority. And prior to that, I was with Newcastle Hotels and Resorts, where I led human resources across multiple locations. This experience has really shaped how I approach human resources in the multi-environment and unionized environment. I was excited also about the position because the library has a very community focus. That is something that resonates with me, where each library is able to tweak what they're doing. There's the core part of being a library, but they are able to service their clients. how they best see fit and run different programs that really help support the community. And this is something that I would love to be able to be a part of.
Okay, I felt that was genuine. You hit all the points. I only have a couple tweaks. That was really, really good. Thing is, and this is going to allow you to condense it a little bit, make it a tiny bit more concise, is in your first opening line, it's perfect, like HR leader with over 20 years of experience in supporting unionized and XYZ. But I would add multi-location environments, because then that way you don't have to spend as much time at the end explaining it. And the other big tweak, which will actually addresses the blind spot here potentially. It's like CHRO. This title's different. I know we've talked about that before and how to position that answer, but what I would change is instead of saying most recently I was the human resource CHRO, what I would actually say is most recently I was the HR leader leading XYZ. Don't use the title if it's a mismatch.
Gotcha.
Okay. And this goes for if you're more junior or more senior. You want to match, you want to speak to the exact level they're speaking at. Otherwise, it's not something for the pitch. It's more something they might ask you about. And question for you, have you ever worked in public sector?
Well, the
Port Authority is
quasi, because it used to be federal, and so it is still federally regulated. So it's quasi.
Okay. I would say is the end where you talked about the Port Authority. I'd position it because maybe not everyone will know what that is. Like I'll admit, I literally don't know too much. I can only assume. What I'd replace it with then is your experience with a federally regulated company. Because cool, then that's like aligned with libraries and that type of work. So might not be public sector exactly, or if you feel comfortable positioning it that way, because I don't have all the details on that, but match it that way instead of the specific, because to me, library and Port Authority sound so different, but they actually have a lot in common, which is the fact that they're both federally regulated, I believe. Okay, amazing. Very good. Thank you. I know I put you on the spot. You weren't even looking to do that, so I'm glad you did. Amazing. Two more questions. I'll go to Fiorella first because she's new and it's her first question. Then I'll circle back to Love G. And if anyone has another question, let's fit in maybe one more before we wrap today. So let's see one more hand. Hello, welcome.
Thank you. And sorry again, just sick today, but
Your voice.
I've been having a lot of trouble with the question about the count for employees. So I'm basically looking to go to a place that has larger headcount, like if not thousands. And most of my experience has been in places where the headcount is anywhere between 250. I had a whole year of experience at a place where the whole organization was 6,000 and my I guess business unit was 250. But I find that a lot of recruiters are asking what the headcount is. And that's where I don't know why I get so thrown off by it.
Oh, absolutely. I love this. Okay, so let's break it down and build you a response that you're excited about. So is a blind spot, right? This is like you deliver your pitch. Next, typically a seasoned recruiter is going to dig into things they're concerned about. Like Susan, I see you were CHRO, why are you applying to this director role is a blind spot. And for you, it's tell me about the size of the companies you've supported, or I noticed these are smaller organizations. Is that the case? Along those lines will be like you experienced. It's going to continue to come up because it's a really fair question. And I like to think about it like, why are they asking you this? And the reason they're asking is to take the risk away. A, you might not know what you're doing in that type of environment. And B, what if you don't like it? If you like all of HR and making all of the decisions and you get to their big company and there's all this red tape and you might be concerned with that. So I want to tell you two things. So my own career, I was in the place where you are now, where I wanted to go from a mid-sized company to a really large company. And I was worried they were going to ask me this question. And then later, when I was going from a really big company back to a smaller company again, they were worried about it the other way. They're like, well, you're used to this huge company. Are you going to like it here? And they were really asking me though. So it's and there's a change. You have to address it. And you have to address it then I like it, or you have had the experience. So the cool thing is you have worked for an organization with over 6,000 employees. I know you're in the state of on your resume right now, likely. Don't write any of the headcounts for any of the smaller companies on your resume since you're targeting bigger companies. And really a number of the 6,000 or the organization that was larger. Okay, so that stands out while the stuff you're trying to minimize doesn't. And say you're asked that question you're afraid of, which is hey, can you tell me, I notice you're working at a smaller company now, which maybe they notice, maybe they don't. They might not even notice that. Tell me about like experience working in a larger company. So what I would say is, or have you ever had the experience of working at a large company, right?
Usually find that they just flat out ask, what's your current headcount?
Cool.
Which doesn't
Build a response for that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Say they ask you that way. It can come up many ways, but say they ask that way. There is more context you need to give because that's not enough to give them all the information that they need. So instead of just saying 120, like what number is, what I want you to say instead is give them a top story in the same framework like we've been talking about today. So first, a confidence statement, even though this isn't something you're very confident about, but saying, in my career, I've had the opportunity to work at both smaller and larger companies. Most recently, like in a current role, it is a smaller organization. Of course, there's pros and cons to both. This role, I'm able to, and then like in a way that aligns with their role. So maybe it's like, you tell them the company size, but you say kind of part that's most similar. So it's like in this role, I'm also leading HR strategy and operations for X, right? And then I would say, actually, I would change the order. So let's back up. So I would say you start with the confidence statement of throughout my 10 years in HR, I've had the opportunity to work at both smaller and larger organizations. Earlier in my career, I worked for a company with 6,000 employees, which was great. And that's what I'm looking to get back to. That's what I would say. I would say currently, because they actually asked you flat out, how many people does your current company have? You need to answer it. So then I would answer it at the end here, saying, my current role, I'm supporting about people, whatever the number is, 100 people. Having experienced both, I want to go back to my roots now. Really enjoyed supporting, and you can describe it in a way that works for this company. So this way, like, need more context. It's not just about you're a whole person with many years of experience. So it's not just about what you're doing today. That's more recent that matters. It's like bring up things that are either recent or relevant, right? And what's most relevant is the direct match of 6,000 people is a lot. It's mid-size.
Perfect.
Does that make sense?
Helpful. Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
So don't just answer. When we have any blind spot, we're going to have lots of sessions about blind spots. I think there's one this month. Just answer with like the thing you're most insecure about. Give them additional helpful context that would kind of red flag. So we'll talk about that a lot. So bring another one next time as well. All right. Last question over to you, Love G.
Yes. Thanks, Irina. During the interview, I was talking about the third one. And it's always about fit. At the end, they asked me about my personality.
Yeah.
And I've ever been asked that question before, and I've done final round of interviews like maybe 4 times in the last 6 months, and nobody's asked about personality. So, I mean, talk about how your personality relates to the role, right? And what they're looking for. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on how to answer that question.
Yeah. So, get a question like that that's a little unique, that throws you off a little bit. It's okay to be human and be like, the first thing is like, oh, wow, I've never been asked that. Okay. Wow.
That's what I said.
We'll break that down. If you have data on this is helpful. And of course, you always want to be aligning to the role. So say the role is working with people and you're like, I hate working with people. It's like, I want to go there. So you do want to pick out the things that are most aligned, like always, like every interview question in the world. But if you have data from even taking like a assessment or data from your past leader telling you, because then you're not tooting your own horn. You're not like, I am brilliant and I'm good at, use some data. So for example, it's like, well, last performance review or, shared X, right? Which is a strength. Or you could say something like, what I keep hearing consistently from clients and past leaders is that I'm very X, Y, and Z, right? Then it's like humble brag, like you're the one saying it, they said it, you're just repeating it. That works really well. Or if you have data on, I've done the Strengths Finder assessment. I've done a lot of different assessments, but in HR, sometimes we use those. And Strengths is a popular one that a lot of people know. And you can pull something like that as well. Someone who's really strategic. It was one of my top strengths in the Strengths Finder assessment.
Okay.
Like that. Because it's hard to describe all these different elements of your personality. And you want it to sound like you're just trying to say what they want to hear either. So data often helps with that. Is that helpful? What data comes to mind? Like what you heard about yourself that is helpful for this role?
Well, when you mentioned the assessment, I've always heard that I'm great to work with, great collaborator, team player, flexibility, and every environments. I'm open to just taking on new challenges. But it would be, I think those things, but I think it's good to bring data into it or to mention that somebody else has said that about me. What I've been hearing in the past is that.
Keep hearing it consistently. And there'll be those themes that are genuine, like you're saying, right, that you can pull to, because who we are is just who we are. So we take that with us to different environments. Like if you're a very organized person, you're probably like that in your home life and at work. There's so many themes. So very you question. Usually they just give you a personality assessment and see for themselves, but it's data. So that's a good
Okay.
point.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Irina, I have received a similar question today. Can you please
Okay,
explain about
cool.
your personality? But you now said is exactly, I don't know, answer it like this, what you
It's because
told
I'm
us.
not nervous and I'm not in an interview. It's easy for me to come
Yeah.
up with the right answers, you guys.
Yeah, because in the volunteer organization, my manager told me you were very dedicated. We wanted to promote you. So I can
Yes.
mention this in the interview, but I mention in a different way. I mentioned I'm more authentic, confident. I'm very good at building a team and everything.
Prove it now with the data, right? So I love, next time you'll more information. And it sounds more real when we bring an example. And that's why any of those questions about tell me about a time you XYZ, we bring it real. And this is the same. It's like someone has told you it's a skill repeatedly, or some specific reason. The hard worker thing is a great example. It's like, I've heard that through proof of your grades. A straight A student, I've always been a hard worker. And then when I landed my first job, it's what I've been consistently hearing since, proving it with you are who you are. It's a part of your personality. This is a natural trait that comes effortless. And actually, I think the reason why a question like this can throw us off is because some things we're good at are so obvious to us, we don't even think of it as a skill. Just it's who I am. This is my DNA. I'm just like this. But not everyone is a hard worker. Nowadays, people are saying and I don't want to generalize, but next year, very lazy. They don't want to work. So it's in and saying you're a hard worker. Cool. That's huge strength and something that's more rare nowadays too. So love it. Cool. I love that you both had that question. So I guess not a rare question. Everyone should think about that. Hey, before you go, if you've enjoyed listening to today's show, I would love your support. Please take a moment to leave a review anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And here's the exciting part. I'm running a special contest and giving away a one-on-one session with yours truly. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and send it to me in my DMs. All of my contact info is in the show notes. I appreciate you so much, and I cannot wait to build the career and life that you've been craving together. See you next week.